Hey all, good evening. Thanks for joining me. I'm just wondering what is going on with the EP and the Phanar, the hierarchs there. Every time I turn around, something is going on that isn't right. So I have questions on this. Is this a pattern? I'm going to share with you a couple of stories here. So, Metropolitan Emanuel stated that the Constantinople Patriarchate has never contacted schismatics in Montenegro. So he said he was in an interview with this Greek channel. This was from January 16th. He refuted claims by Russian intelligence that the Patriarchate of Constantinople intends to support the creation of the Church of Montenegro. So, what creation of the Church of Montenegro? Doesn't that sound like the Church of Ukraine? The Orthodox Church of Ukraine? Now we have the Church of Montenegro? Something isn't right here. So, this is his answer. I'll say it plainly. We have never had anything to do with this issue. It is not even a church structure, just some kind of group that cannot even be called schismatic. We have never had any contact with this group in Montenegro. This is simply informational noise on their part. That's what Metropolitan Emanuel of Chalcedon says. He also commented on Russian accusations regarding Constantinople's interference in the affairs of the Baltic churches. Yes, why is Constantinople interfering in churches that are under the Moscow Patriarchate? Once again, according to the Metropolitan, the Russian Orthodox Church already sees that many believers and clergy who are in the Baltic countries will want to join the church that gives them freedom. He believes that the churches in Latvia and Lithuania will lose their flock. And the Metropolitan also criticized statements by these churches that they are no longer part of the Moscow Patriarchate. When His Holiness asked Metropolitan Alexander of Latvia, "Whom do you commemorate?" he replied, "I commemorate all Orthodox bishops." "But you are not the primate of all Orthodox." The fact is that he does not want to commemorate Patriarch Kirill of Moscow because he considers it disadvantage for their unity with Moscow to be noticeable. This is why there's this service, the former KGB, which is talked about, reacts so sharply. That's according to the Metropolitan Emanuel. He is part of apparently he's connected in a way to the Patriarchate, it seems. So, he says, does not support Montenegro schismatics. Okay. So I'm wondering, what's going on here? Montenegro is having issues with persecution of their people, their Orthodox churches. Estonia the same. Apparently, a Swedish person told me it's also happening there because they have the canonical ties to the church, the Orthodox church, Russian church in Russia, and the Patriarchate. So I'm going to go to this other article to give you an update on this story that, remember, Metropolitan Emanuel said that they have no connection and have not met with the this Montenegro group, which is considered schismatic. Okay, so let's see what happened. So the Phanar hierarch He is, again, the Archbishop of Finland stated that his meeting with the head of the Montenegro Orthodox Church was brief. Okay. The head of the Finnish Church of the Patriarchate of Constantinople, Archbishop Ilya, criticized the editorial board of UOJ in America on his Facebook for publishing about his meeting with the head of the Schismatic Montenegrin Church, Boris Bojovic. According to the Archbishop, it was a brief encounter in Rome with someone dressed as a bishop who introduced himself as being from Montenegro. He believes that such a meeting and a group photo in which he poses together with Bojovic is not a reason to, quote-unquote, spin a whole story out of this. Quote, let this serve as a textbook example of how disinformation is produced and shamelessly spread. There were no negotiations. There was no meeting. There was a one-sided 2-minute contact, the kind that happens at any major event where people cross paths. Those who wish to construct elaborate stories from chance encounters can draw their own conclusions. The rest of us see it for what it is. The anatomy of a lie put on display. So that's what he has to say on that issue. In turn, the editor-in-chief of UOJ in America, Ben Dixon, expressed surprise at such an emotional reaction from the Finnish primate to an ordinary news publication. He says, with all due respect to His Grace, presenting verifiable facts is not disinformation, Dixon noted. The article does not attribute malicious motives to the participants, but records the concern expressed by some believers in connection with the fact that two hierarchs, subordinate to the Ecumenical Patriarch, met with this schismatic in Rome. According to the editor-in-chief, a particular concern for part of the flock is the fact that the Ecumenical Patriarchate has a history of legitimizing schismatics. There it is. Despite previous statements to the contrary. Quote, it would seem that the natural reaction of a bishop would be not to show hostility, but to address the editorial board with clarification. Let me explain what actually happened in order to inform readers and dispel the flock's concern caused by such photographs, Ben Dixon concluded. At the same time, the Montenegrin press, citing the press service of the Montenegrin Church, assures that the meeting between Bojovic and the delegation of the Finnish Church was official. Quote, during the solemn liturgical ceremony dedicated to the 148th anniversary of the founding of the National Institute of the Honor Guard of the Royal Tombs of the Pantheon, Metropolitan Boris, together with a delegation of the Montenegrin Orthodox Church, met with an ecumenical delegation from Finland, which included Tapio Liuma, Archbishop of Turku and all Finland of the Evangelical Lutheran Church, and Ilya Valgren, Archbishop of Helsinki and all Finland, head of the Finnish Orthodox Church, operating under the jurisdiction of the Ecumenical Patriarchate. So that's the announcement from the Montenegrin press themselves that tells you it wasn't an official meeting. It wasn't a 2-minute, it's just you pass these people when you're in groups of people. You just rub elbows accidentally with these people, and this one-sided, and this person said a couple of things, and well, that was it. Does it look like that's it? Or is the Montenegrin press lying? Didn't they not reporting this official meeting? This ceremony? Was Metropolitan, Emanuel truthful in his remarks? That the hierarch in the Patriarchate of Constantinople is not talking at all with these groups. No, we don't even, we've never seen them. Well, since the Montenegrin press is just covering a ceremony, which seems pretty objective, it's not like they have any other reason, they just are sharing this story for the news. I don't see it as being biased. Do you? So perhaps the flock, according to the editor-in-chief of the UOJ, they are concerned that the EP has a history of legitimizing schismatics. Do we see evidence of this in this piece? These news stories I just shared? It feels like it to me. Why do they continue to overstep jurisdictions? They go into other patriarchs' jurisdictions and decide to start collecting schismatics that are no longer connected to the canonical churches and want to create a new church, which to me only causes division. Is this something that maybe the State Department, the U.S., is involved with to cause more division and schisms in the Orthodox Church? Maybe that's part of it. There's some kind of persuasion going on. I don't know. Or is this just all on their own that they decide to, these hierarchs and the EP decide to enter into these other jurisdictions that they have no authority over and decide to start creating these churches from all these people that have been, they're schismatics. They're not in there. They've been kicked out of church, for whatever reasons. They've been defrocked or whatever. I just find it very strange. I wouldn't see what their purpose of doing this is. Why are they doing this? And the only answer I can come up with is it has something to do with Western pressure. U.S., State Department, CIA, whatever, in their scheming of trying to cause divisions so they can get more people on the west side in the Orthodox Church heads to try to destroy Russia. Because we all know NATO and many neocons in the U.S. are against Russia. It's just been a long time, decades long. Okay, and of course Britain even longer against Russia. It feels like that. What do you all think? What do you think this is? But to me it just seems, we already saw, several months ago I shared one on Estonia. He was doing the same thing. The EP was doing the same thing. They're trying to help Estonian Orthodox Church because they were going through difficulties. And he's also doing that in Latvia. And, they think, we're going to help them out so they can be under the mother church so they don't have to listen or be under the oppressive Moscow Patriarchate. Well, I don't know. I just find this whole thing very messed up. There's a lot of politics, geopolitics involved that screws up secular reasons. There's nothing to do with the real spiritual side of this for the church. It's a disaster. That's what I see. Please share your thoughts on this. What do you think's going on here? I'm sure you have thoughts on this. And I'm sorry I have to bring up another story about the EP, but this is continuing now. Since this was out the January 16th and this one was out January 22nd, when did the actual meeting happen with this? I didn't see exactly, but it sounds to me like this was after the EP's theophany address and his problem with cutting the Vasilopeda New Year's bread. Which means this stuff is still going on. Which means even though he knows it's a bad omen what happened, he doesn't want to do anything, and he continues on this path, which I don't think is going to be good for his soul. So, please share your thoughts on this. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks so much for following my channel, for being subscribing to it. Please click that notification bell if you want to be notified when my videos come out. And have a blessed night.